Welcome to the Shakaama Live Show with your host, Shakaama. Several years ago, probably 10 years now, there was a city in Germany that up and declared that they were running off of completely and only renewable energy. Now, I just watched a documentary, and they did concentrate on that city. And what they did was an amalgamation of every possible technology that we've come up with that uses a renewable source to produce energy. And then, of course, the icing on the cake was finally a company said at that time that they were the first company to offer home system batteries. So at the end of all of their efforts in the village, and of course it's a small village. It's not a giant city. It's a small village. At the end of their efforts of putting solar panels on everybody's roof, and I'll get into everything that they did, they produced 5 times what the village actually needed. So let's get into that just for a second. So they used solar panels. The village is kind of like, the quaint village where we have hills and mountains surrounding a village. I did not see water there, so there was no water, and they spoke about if you lived near water, you could use water. And in the documentary that I just got through watching, they were talking about if you lived near water, you could do this. And of course, they showed windmills in the ocean by an oil company, no less. Which a lot of people then took to mean that the documentary wasn't actually a documentary. It was more of a commercial for that oil company to say, look at us. So they also used biogas. So they extracted the gases from decomposing stuff to then, of course, use as gas. Just regular gas. Of course, they separate it into the various gases, and then they have gas. And it's renewable because a lot of it comes from cows. They have a lot of cows there. They have a huge dairy farm there. But let's go back to the solar right quick. And a lot of you might not know this, but I don't know if you've looked into this or not. But this is to educate the people who don't know. There are things called collectives. So normally it's a person with a lot of land, which happens to be a lot of times farmers. So farmers have a lot of land, and so then the farmer will go out and purchase acres of solar panels. And so then the farmer will offer to the people in the village or around him that they will be able to take over 2 of the solar panel, or 4, or however, right? And so the collective then pays for those solar panels, and of course they give the money to the farmer, and also the farmer is also getting paid because he has the land. So it's a collective. So then you have the possibility of completely wiping out your electric company, because the farmer has hundreds, if not thousands, of acres, and he can put 10,000 solar panels on his property, which then the electric company is saying, screaming, no fair. And let's talk about now the electric company. A lot of you all don't even know how electricity really works in your home. You turn on the plug and the light comes on, right? And a lot of you all think that the electric company has a battery or they have a turbine, and when you click on your switch, that turbine starts going or the battery shoots out the electricity. That's not how it is at all, not even at all. The electric company, for the most part, in 99% of the world, the electric company does a tremendous, almost magical juggling act. When they talk about the grid, they literally are talking about the grid. So let's see, I live in Las Vegas. Very close to me is the Hoover Dam, right? And the Hoover Dam, they produce electricity there, but oddly enough, Las Vegas doesn't get its electricity from the Hoover Dam. The electricity that's produced 2 feet away from us goes to California. And then you have places like Enron, who then buys the Hoover Dam electricity for like 1 cent for a kilowatt, and then they turn around and sell it for like $1 for a kilowatt to the end consumer. And then they have rolling brownouts, rolling blackouts, and then they say, see, we need to up and increase the electric bill so we don't have these brownouts. But they still had them. And so they upped and upped and up. Oh, it's really happening. This is okay. So the grid is essentially this. So there's a hamster on a wheel, and it produces the electricity, right? Okay, so then everybody attaches their electrical little wires to that wheel, and lo and behold, those wires go all over the place. So the hamster's going, and the wire has electricity. Well, the wire has electricity, and it goes into the little station, and the electric company, all it really does in Seattle, in Los Angeles, in Burbank, all it does is reroute those wires. That's that electric company there. That's all it does. It doesn't produce electricity. It has no hamster of its own. It simply reroutes the electricity. It just reroutes that wire and that flow. That's all it is. It's a magical process, juggling act to get the flow to go to the switch when you turn on the switch. And if you're an electrician and you know how the thing works, you know that there is always electricity flowing to your outlets, flowing to your switches. It's always there. Your switch simply is making a connection to turn on the light bulb. The electricity is standing there, and you're being charged for it too. Now, why am I concerned about electricity? 30 days ago, the electricity went out in this section of Las Vegas. There was a storm, big, huge power line came down, and blew out this entire area. 30 days later, we are still recovering from that outage, and the outage was at night, when most people don't need electricity. Most people don't care about electricity, right? But stores in this section are still recovering. They had to make emergency hauls of their inventory in the refrigerator systems to go to another store. And even the mom and pop stores had to do that. So then we're now getting back spoiled food in the stores. And we're not talking about just the mom and pop stores. We're talking about the name brand branches and all that sort of stuff. We are still recovering from an outage that was 4 to 6 hours. 4 to 6, 30 days later, we're still recovering from this. So then it started me when the water went out. People lost their minds here because most of these people are on these evaporative cooling systems, swamp cooler. And somebody told me that. They said the reason everybody's going crazy is because the water is out. Most of the people around you are on swamp coolers. You're on air conditioning. They are suffering. They are going out of their mind because the water has been shut off. So they can't have a cooling system. So they are sitting inside of houses that are 120 degrees, if not more. They're really suffering. Now, let me tell you the problem from the other side, the corporate side. So the corporate side is that the electric company has created this system, and for the most part, they've had a monopoly the entire time. And so they, with the new technology, they're seeing little chunks of their monopoly being taken away. People are coming out with the solar, wind, water. The water company is feeling it because the water people are collecting rainwater, and so the EPA is saying you can't collect rainwater on your property. Kind of hits you like you don't have the authority to say that, and they say yes we do. No, you don't. You don't have. Or you can't create a pond, or you can't take away a pond on your property. On your property that you own. So then we have to understand where they're coming from. There's a corporation that says we want to own all the water. We're the water treatment. Now people are coming out with water treatment on their own property. And they're saying, and now they're promoting people having water treatment on their own property so as to not pollute the environment around the city, around their town, around their house, around their neighborhood. I used to live near the wash here in Las Vegas, way on the other side of town, and we had the wash stopped up, and we had reeds growing. Reeds, do you know what it takes to grow a reed? It takes a lot of water, and it has to have a certain ecosystem whereby there is just a ton of water. We're in a desert. Across from me there was a desert. Next to me there was a desert. My yard was a desert before I got a hold of it. How is there reeds growing as if we were in ancient Ethiopia or Egypt or whatever you want to call it? Reeds. Something's wrong. They want to control the water. And so the people, you have the different factions of the elites trying to control the population, but they're butting head at the corporate level. Because this corporation over here is saying, hey, that's a part of my monopoly. You can't be talking about that. And then, of course, we are in the middle. The other side is saying, yeah, but we want to reduce the human impact on the planet. So we want to make sure that people are beholden to carbon dioxide, which, for all of you who are into that climate change things, carbon is a lagging indicator. The only reason that we even talk about carbon is because it's easy to see in sediment rock And so we say, aha, carbon. Aha, 100 years before the carbon showed up, there was massive amounts of heat on the planet. That's it. It is the African of the environmental studies. African as in the readily visible thing, indicator of something. And it is a lagging indicator up to 100 years. So carbon can show up, and you can look at the dating and the temperatures, and you will see that it was 100 years before. The Earth was hot 100 years before the carbon showed up. It's a lagging indicator. Why? Because the heat comes, the plants grow, the plants produce the carbon, the plants die off, they go into the sediment rock, and there is an abundance of carbon. Now we call that oil and gas, I guess. So this tiny village was in Germany, tried to be the be-all end-all, and they're producing 5 times as much. That's great because the mayor, I don't guess he forced them to, but the mayor led the charge to put a solar panel on every roof. And then you have the cooperative, the local dairy farmer, who now becomes massively wealthy because they are doing the cooperative for the solar panels on their dairy farm because they have lots and lots of land. And then you have the company that comes in and says, tell you what, you're producing 5 times as much energy than what you even need. And as soon as the sun goes down, it goes to waste. The wind picks up, but it goes to waste. So you flip your switch and nothing comes on. I've got the answer for you: batteries. So now the battery guy joins in. And so then the local oil and gas electric company shows up to the doorstep and says, what's going on? And I said, we are into this renewable energy stuff. And we figured it out. And because everybody in the entire village got in on it, we all decided that we are going to be an entirely off-grid village. They didn't say that part, but that's what they are. They're off-grid. They're no longer a part of the grid system. So the electric company says everybody has to be a part of the grid because these wires are all connected. This is how we get the electricity over to Mr. Smith's house and Shaniqua's house and Tyrone's house. Everybody's got to be a part of it. It is a grid. It's all connected. So we can't have people just checking out. In fact, we can't have this solar stuff here in Nevada. I believe they declared that the electric company Nevada Energy has the sole right to produce energy. And if you have solar panels, you can have 1 or 2. You can't have 20. You can, at least that was the last time I checked in on it. That's what it was. And a big, huge solar company was coming to Nevada, and Nevada Energy said, "Oh no, you can't come here." And they said, "Hey, what? You're a private company. You can't tell us where to go." And so the governor was trying to keep them out also. Drinking my water today was horrible for me. The blood pressure was just horrible. So was standing outside with people, and I was just bending over, and people were like, "You okay? You okay? You better go somewhere. Go sit down somewhere. Go back home." So I came back home. Now, it makes, as a man, it makes me feel sort of embarrassed when the power goes out, when the water goes out. We're not talking about money. We're talking about that it goes out, that it shuts off. You know, you hear the boom, mile away, and the power goes off. And it makes me embarrassed that I haven't prepared anything for that eventuality, because in the course of a year, it happens 4 or 5 times. Yeah, 4 or 5 times, if not 10. So I have no contingency plan should it last for any amount of time. There was some city, I think it was in LA, in California, and it lasted a week, and the city was nearly in utter chaos. I don't know if it was LA. That would have been really. Was it LA? Where was it? It was a big city, and the power was off for a whole week. Maybe it wasn't LA, but I'm always blaming California for stuff. They have the worst of the worst of the worst regulations and stuff. Did you hear about the story where the man got the letter, a cease and desist order to stop damming the river on his property? Of course, there's a guy with, thousands of acres. And that wasn't the funny part. The funny part was when he wrote back and he says, first of all, I didn't create the dam. I don't maintain the dam. There's nothing the dam has to do with me. If you wanted to write a letter to cease and desist, you should write the beavers that created the dam. You see, this is the type of mentality that a lot of these regulations and agencies. So the electric companies go to the politicians and say, we cannot have this stuff. Now, over in Europe, the energy companies are now rebranding themselves to be energy companies. So they're saying, okay, if we're not going to make the energy, we will present our expertise, and our expertise really is that we manage the energy. We don't care. As long as you're still a part of the grid, we don't care. And that was the same concept that the battery guy had. So they gave batteries to the individual houses, but they also had a station in the village, such that the solar panels came into their station, and whoever, they routed the energy, the electricity, to whatever house needed it in the village. So the battery company then became the electric company, doing the same exact thing that the electric company does, which was to manage the electricity. Like I said, the wires, they're redistributing the wires, and the little hamsters going on that wheel, and they're just rerouting all the electricity on their wires. That's all they do. They don't create any. Most of them don't create anything. A lot of you all don't know that. When you flip on your switch, all it is it's going from Shaniqua's house to Tyrone's house to Mr. Smith's house to your house. That's it. Your house is a part of the grid, and the electricity will come through your house. You don't know it. It's invisible to you. But you're down the street from Tyrone, Shaniqua, and Mr. Smith, and there you go. You flip on your switch, and that's what the battery company did exactly for the village. Yes, they also had batteries for the house, but they also created a station to then share the electricity, because some people were producing, 10 times more than they needed, and some people only produce what they needed, or some people will only produce because they were part of the cooperative. In their actual house only produced maybe 50% of what they needed, but they needed 50% more. But Gudenschlacker over here is producing 10 times more. They said Germany. I'm just making up German names. Gefilte fish, or what? That'd be a Yiddish word, right? Is producing 10 times more, so they reroute it to, Auf Wiedersehen. And, and so there you have it. The village it's a collective, and the entire village became a collective. Now, What can we do? The energy companies here in the United States, are not going along with this. The energy companies over in Europe, they're like, oh, you want wind? Wind. 10,000 floating windmills in the ocean. And then they plan to go to Scotland to lease the area in Scotland off of the coast of Scotland and create 10,000 more over there. Why? Because they're the energy company. You want renewable? We give you renewable. And for people who don't understand, talking about the solar and wind is heavily subsidized, and that's the only way it works. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but gas, oil and gas is heavily subsidized also. So taxpayers are paying for the privilege of paying $5 a gallon in some areas of the United States, $3 a gallon in other areas of the United States. We're paying for that privilege. Now, I believe over in Europe, they might be up to like $20 a gallon. I haven't priced it. Somebody give me a price check in the comment section. So Germany, for some reason you all are watching my videos. I don't know why. Google says Germany. I said Germany. Number 2 is Germany. Number 2 is. Why is number 2 Germany? Why is number 2 watching Germany watching my videos? I said, so where's Great Britain? Number 10. Apparently I struck a chord with Europe doing something. I don't know what. Happy to have you. I make more money that way. I am taking the full financial series straight to donation. You can donate at patreon.com/Shakaama. Patreon, patreon.com/Shakaama. It'll be for pay only. It's the $15 tier on up. I will get that going. Don't worry. I will put that up there, and add, when I get the computer going, you're going to see about 15 different videos just pop on the feed there, you know. Now, some of you pay by the video, so you'll definitely get your money's worth on that one. So yeah, I took it to private, and because absolutely nobody watched it. Nobody wants to watch it. So, you know, the channel has to survive on the merits of being a YouTube channel. So it has to have views. And people are saying, you only did this for views. Well, yeah, that's how the business works. You get views, that's how it is. Now, the idea of sustainable. Nothing is sustainable. Nothing. Sustainable means that the sun will always shine. We already know that the sun will not always shine. They say the wind will always blow. We already know the sun won't always shine, so definitely the wind won't always blow. Now the biofuel, the biomass, the biogas, they said that'll always be there. We know that the sun won't always shine, the wind won't always blow, and so human life and animal life on the planet, even plant life, won't always be here. I'm sorry to tell you this, but they're saying that it's only going to last for like 1,000 years. That our sun is only going to last for like 1,000 years. I don't believe that. I believe our sun is going to last for, you know, maybe maybe a few trillion years. Our sun is not. First of all, it's not a giant. It's not a gas giant. So it is far more stable than a massive star that is the size of our entire solar system. We're talking massive, giant friggin' star. Ours is not. Ours is a tiny little ball with a few tiny little balls chasing it through the galaxy. You know our solar system isn't the sun here and the planets going like this. the sun is actually here and the planets are whizzing around following it, and as the sun goes, the planets follow. Isn't that cute? Isn't that funny? Isn't that great? I think it's pretty cool. Anyway, gotta come up with a little bit of renewable, but not so much, because I watched another guy who priced everything. He's in Canada though. He says he has 4 hours max in the middle of summer of sunlight. I live in Vegas, so I have like 16 hours of sunlight every day. And in summer, it only goes to 16 hours of blistering hot sunlight every day. So I'm in a prime position of living somewhere with a bunch of solar panels and just living high on the hog, right? For him, he was saying even at 4 hours a day of sunlight, he would have to buy a massive thing to produce 6 kilowatt hours a day. With his 6 panels, he could barely muster 1 kilowatt hour an entire day. For 4 hours, he would have to have increased that a lot. Drinking my water. You all should clap your hands and encourage me to drink water. Drink water. I didn't drink all day. Nothing. Even standing outside, nothing. Anyway, should I feel embarrassed when things go out and I have no contingency plan? It was funny. I had the water go out, and I have a habit of putting water in the tub and just leaving it there. So when the water went out, I was like, okay, gotta wash dishes. Oh, can't wash dishes. Oh, and I kept, like, all through the day, I kept saying, oh, gotta wash my hands. Oh, can't do that, because I didn't have the water. And I was thinking I still had the water in the tub, and I didn't. Supposedly there's a big bag you can put in the tub and fill up the tub, and the bag is as big as your tub, and so then you have a whole tub full of water, and you can the bag is to facilitate using it, because it has a spout that it comes out of, and you can pour it into buckets and pitchers and what have you, right? There you go. Anyway, thank you all for watching. And when I move into a better house, I will do all of this stuff. I can't do it here. I'll do all of it when I move into my own house. Thank you all for watching. I'm not a prepper, but everybody